I feel like the root issue is Alexis. So Alexis going to share this back to Morgan, basically snitching.
Hey you guys, welcome back to Romance Review TV with Lady T, and I kind of wanted to discuss what was on the after party in regards to this whole conversation about, surrounding Morgan and Ben and Alexis being a part of this and the drama that ensued. And they had a bit of conversation on the after party regarding Wednesday night's episode. And it was Mitch, it was Nate, it was Justin. And I kind of want to talk about what was said and get your thoughts. So before we do, take a second and make sure you're subscribed to this channel to receive all updates. And don't forget to like and share. Okay, so we remember what happened in the last episode where before they met with, of course, Dr. Pepper and all of that, they had this whole conversation, gals, then the girls came over to the guys' place, and everything was just out there on the table, especially when it came to Morgan and Ben. Now, I will say that Ben did take accountability for his part, which is great, which he said that he lied. Some people tend to think that he was just being a people pleaser, just to say whatever to get along with the situation. But whatever it is, if he felt that he was complicit in this whole thing, absolutely he needs to take accountability for that. However, I've listened to some of my fellow content creators, and even when it comes to Morgan has also been doing some lying herself. So she isn't 100%, clear in this whole situation. But nevertheless, this whole conversation is started because of the fact that Ben is having some conversation with Justin. And obviously, when you want to have a safe space with your partner and you're not getting that, you're going to look for an outlet to go somewhere and have that conversation, right? Now, whether or not Ben can express to Morgan, like, look, I want to be able to talk to you about some things. However, if I'm going to walk into a brick wall every time I try to have a conversation, or if I bring up something that I feel that I don't like, or maybe we should work on a change, the return back to me, I don't know if I'm ready for that. The question is, that also affects how he's going to be in a marriage. So he may need to consider that, because communication is key. You have to communicate to your partner. However, on the flip side, him going to Justin and saying, whatever it is he needs to let off his chest, to me, he was being completely human, because a lot of times it happens. And in this particular case, though, I guess with Alexis in the middle of this is where it brought the conversation to to this forefront at the after party, because of what Nate actually thought about this too. Now, I will mention Mitch was asked about this as well. And, Mitch was like, he was 180% on, Ben's side until he heard Morgan's side of it, and he kind of changed his tune. But, the thing is that, it's good to listen to both sides, but at the same time, if she feel that, he was talking behind her back, it's not a good thing, and they both need to communicate. And that was the other thing that Mitch said. However, the third party in this, which is Alexis, is where all of this kind of got back. And so with the conversation that Ben is having with Justin, Alexis obviously has been privy to that. And of course, that information was taken back to Morgan, which now Morgan is now pissed off, because Ben should be having conversation with her. But it's kind of like maybe they both could have said, I appreciate the fact that you see us as a listening ear, but at the same time, you might need to have this conversation with your wife instead of going to tell her what's being said between the two of them. It looks really messy, and I did say that on a couple of my previous recaps of the last couple episodes when this was all unfolding. But it was interesting too how Justin felt about this as well. So take a look.
you're still talking with your wife, that should stay within the household,
Agreed.
right? Because that's private information that shouldn't be shared.
100%.
So, I mean, even Justin said, because this is just a small clip and I have to, you know, kind of clip it in portions, you know, without triggering anything with the algorithm. But I will say that one of the other things that he mentioned was that, you know, he didn't like that. You know, he felt like his confidence had been betrayed. So, I mean, we got two situations going on. We need Ben and Morgan to communicate, which is at this point, I just don't see them going any further, especially after the whole thing with the letters at the end of last week's episode where he read his first, gave him the impression that she was going to read hers, and then she dipped out. I mean, seriously. But we have that lack of communication over there and a safe space being created for Ben to have conversations with her. And then on this side, when we got Ben going to Justin, we also have Alexis maybe hearing this, or even if Justin is sharing it with her, and then instead of saying, hey, Ben, maybe we appreciate the fact that you see us as a place for you to talk to us, but you probably need to have this conversation with your wife, and send him back to, of course, Morgan. Now, would she accept it? Probably not. I mean, her walls are so far up, you might as well call it a titanium wall at this point. But I think that's, if you want to redirect the information back to Morgan, it should have went that route versus creating this whole conflict where it looks like Alexis is kind of coming outside of whatever confidence she has with her husband. And they got their own issues, right? Listening to the conversation Justin's having with Ben and taking that information and going back to Morgan outside of the husband, outside of Morgan's husband, and just point him in the direction where he can figure that out and be able to say, listen, you're going to have to, you know, have some conversation with your wife. It shouldn't have been Alexis's, and I know, you know, people and the girlfriend codes and things like that, but we talking about two freshly new marriages. They only been married about a month, or a little over a month. So at this point, you know, everybody's new to everybody, right? So it's probably best that she should have said, hey, we got our own stuff to figure out over here. Maybe, you know, if you want us to kind of help facilitate this and say, hey, why don't you both come over here and we can have a conversation as a group, or just point Ben in the direction to say, hey, you know, or even if Alexis, we don't know the full extent of what Alexis said, but even if she said something like, you know, hey, Morg, I think maybe you need to open up to Ben and allow him to talk to you about some things. You know, I don't want to be in the middle of your relationship. You guys got to figure that out. But, you know, y'all need to talk. And leave it right there. Leave it right there. So I can see how the term snitch could have come from how this all unfolded. And, I mean, even Nate at some point was talking about how, you know, how Morgan have responded to this whole thing with the hostility and all of that. So all of this probably could have been avoided if Ben and Morgan gave each other a safe space to talk to each other. And so I wanted to discuss this with you guys. I saw the after party. I don't know if you saw it, but it was pretty interesting to say the least. So let me know your thoughts about this whole thing, and do you see Alexis as being a snitch? Do you think that she was justified? Do you think, and we all know Ben was wrong, he admitted to it, of the fact that, you know, he shouldn't have done what he done. At the same time, you gotta allow your significant other, your spouse in this case, to have a safe space to come to you with things, and therefore he won't go on the outside. So let's get the conversation started down in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts. And until the next video, like, comment, and subscribe. And we will see you soon. Bye.